Ver af, is net fucking jingle bell.
Alrighty guys, welcome to the range. Today it's very windy. Let me give you guys an idea of what's happening here. I'm shooting my 308. I'm holding 2.5 mils worth of wind at distance at like 600 yards. It's pretty crazy. It is a 308. Today I want to show you guys how to use this device for measuring the wind at the shooter's location for long range shooting. This is a Kestrel. Now there's a lot of mythical sort of thoughts surrounding this device. It is not the be-all end-all solution to learning how to understand wind and to read wind. It is merely one of the tools we use to understand wind. So today I'm going to chat you guys through using this thing, the basics of using this thing to get you set up for long range. Also, if you're interested in one of these, full disclosure, there's going to be an Amazon link down below where I'll get an affiliate commission if you pick up one of these units. So please use my Amazon link. It'd be appreciated. Right, so without further ado, before we can do any shooting in the field, we have to go back to the office. I'm going to show you guys, with any ballistic calculator, it's garbage in, garbage out. If you don't input the right information into this thing, you will not get a good result out. So let me see you at the reloading bench. We'll get our rifle details punched in. We'll come back here and check what we need to do. Guys, welcome to my reloading room. This is where we need to take our time, set up our Kestrel properly. Okay, because if we rush this or we put bad information in here, you can end up chasing your tail in the field. It's not going to be a fun shooting experience. I'm going to try my best to film this for us kind of like this, so you can see me navigating through these menus. So first things first, we're going to need a few things. We're going to need some kind of measuring device. Okay, we need to measure how high our scope is from the bore of our rifle. You're going to need to know the twist rate of your rifle. You're going to need to know the ballistic coefficient of the bullet you're shooting. Now, if you're shooting factory ammo, you can get this on the back of the package, or if you're reloading, you can see it on the box. Otherwise, use the good old-fashioned internet and just look up your bullet drag coefficient or your BC. I'm going to use G7 BCs for this case scenario. Again, this is a super simple setup just to get you off to the races so you can start using your Kestrel. Speaking of, if you wanted to pick up a Kestrel, there's going to be a link down below as I mentioned earlier. Now, first things first, we're going to fire up our Kestrel and you're going to be greeted with this sort of home screen. Let me start this camera and I can try and film this whole shebang for us. Okay, so once you're in this menu, you're going to hit the down button, this button twice. Okay. We're going to go down to gun. Now you can see I've already got my 308 in there. If you now scroll to the side, let me just focus that. We can scroll to the side. It's going to show some other guns, but I want to go into new gun. We're going to go in there. Now I know my 308, my muzzle velocity is 2,842 feet per second. So we're going to put that in. It is pretty speedy for a 308, but I do have quite a long barrel on this sucker. So 2842. Again, we spoke about the drag model. I use G7 BC, so we're going to change that to G7. Okay, now we need to put in the information of our BC. So we're going to find that on the box, and we can see on this box of 168s, my G7 is 0.264. So we're going to go 0.264. Let's focus that again, 0.264. That's our G7 BC in. We're going to go to bullet weight. I'm shooting 168 grain bullets. Okay, that's in like that. Bore diameter is 308, so that's obviously already set. If you're shooting a 6mm, you want to set that to 0.243, for example. Okay, zero range is ZR, I0 at 100 meters. If you're doing yards, obviously you want to have that set to yards, and you can do those in the main system settings of the Kestrel. Now this bore height is an important one. We want to know how high our scope is from the center of our rifle. Now that's basically the center of your scope tube, okay? This measurement over here. So center of your scope to the center of your bore, and if I use my calipers to measure that, I kind of use the little line your scope rings make. So let me check these area 419 rings for that line over there. My bore height is about 2.3 inches. Now I'm going to put in the 2.3 inches. Our next measurement is a zero height. Let's say, for example, you are shooting a little bit high at 100 meters. You can program all these things in. Also, zero offset you can put in if you're off on wind and stuff like that. So there are many things you can do on the Kestrel. Now, very important is the twist rate of your rifle. I have a 1 in 9 twist on my rifle. So I want to go down to 1 in 9 and make sure you have a right hand twist. If you've got a right hand twist rifle, very small possibility you have a left hand twist rifle. Those are very rare. Our elevation units we're going to leave in mil, and this should be pretty much everything we need. Now we can go up to the name of our gun and actually rename this. If we hit the little enter button in the center, boom, we can go in there and then change things around to basically name our gun to whatever we name our gun. So it's really not that rocket science. We can double check everything. 2842 G7, that's right. 168 grain, it's a 308. Our zero range is right. We've got our scope height in, and we have our twist rate correct. That's pretty much it for the initial setup of the Kestrel. There are some fine tweaks and stuff you can do, but let's get out back into the field and let's put some lead on steel. Right, so now that we have all of our details set up in the ballistic solver, we're going to come out to the range. We're going to fire up our Kestrel. Now, the very first thing you want to do is to calibrate the compass. I recommend you do this every time you go to a new location where you haven't shot at. So when you fire it up and you're in ballistics mode, you're going to hit the little gear icon, which is going to take you one menu back. You'll see mode, Bluetooth, data port. I'll try and film some of this and to give you guys overlay of this too. You're going to go down to system. You're going to go in there with the center button, which is the enter key. Okay. And we're going to go to compass calibration. You're going to hit that and basically holding your Kestrel upright, turn that around in circles, around about 10 seconds per revolution. And that's going to calibrate your compass, because without the compass calibration, your Kestrel has no idea in which direction you're shooting, which will affect, you know, your ballistic solution, whether how the wind's coming across your bullet, which hemisphere or direction you're shooting into. All of those things are going to play a role. So once you've calibrated your compass in our sort of back to our ballistic setting, so hit the gear twice, go down to environment and make sure that is set to live. You don't want to have this locked, because then it's not going to update the environmentals the whole time. Now, one thing to consider is if your Kestrel is like sitting on your tripod or sitting in the sun, if this is live, the sun is going to warm this thing up, and that's also going to start affecting your numbers. So I make it to live, and you'll often see guys doing this, okay? And that's basically to clear any hot air out of this thermometer over there to give you an updated temperature reading. So that is why you see the classic Kestrel swing at matches. Now you know. Okay, once I've done that, I'm going to lock the environmentals again. This is just temperature and those kind of things. Please excuse the shots going off in the background. This is a shooting video. So and then we're actually going to go in and scroll back up and go to target. Now, you guys will see the Kestrel, the front middle button has this little red stripe on it. That's actually the way you point the Kestrel in the right direction. So what we're going to do now, we're going to find a target. Let's say over here somewhere there's some targets. Actually, let's go up this way. So I'm going to point my Kestrel in that direction. While I'm holding it there, you'll see the target designator on the left, okay, is kind of blacked out at the moment. The second you hit that button, okay, it's going to turn and have a little arrow. So now as you rotate the Kestrel around, you'll actually see this number here, the degrees number. So here we are at 69 degrees, lol. And if I go over here and I hold it there for a second, I'm going to wait for it to stabilize. And it stabilizes at about 115 degrees. So I'm going to hit that red button again to lock that information in. Boom. Now I'm going to set the distance. And to set the distance in the Kestrel, you basically use these side little arrows. And I'm going to go to 556 meters. Okay, that is the distance of my target. Obviously, I've established that prior to hitting record. So that this isn't super boring for you guys. Now, a little bit more of a technical video than we usually do, by the way, but a lot of people have requested this video. So now that we've got our target direction locked in and we've got our target distance locked in, we actually want to input this thing, the wind value. So you'll see a lot of us run a little piece of string or a lint or something like that on our Kestrels. And the reason we do that is because when I hold this like this, it gives me kind of that, you know, direction of the wind. So here I can see the wind is coming across from me like this. Now the more you shoot, the more you'll understand, like, okay, there's sort of a row of trees that go up here that might affect the wind a little bit. And the most important thing you guys have to understand about this is giving you wind at the shooter's location. I'm shooting up into this valley. There's mountain winds coming across from there. Very likely, I'm going to need to hold more wind than this suggests today, but this is going to give me a good starting point. So, in order to establish the wind direction, let's assume you're on a flat range with no environmental or topography influencing the wind. I'm going to scroll one level down and highlight wind. Okay, it's going to underline wind. And I'm actually going to point this Kestrel into the direction of the wind like that. Once I've got that locked and I'm sure about my direction of the wind I'm pointing in, I'm going to hit our red button in the center again, and that is going to highlight or the wind section with a little arrow, and it's going to start giving me a wind direction. Now, because our target was this way, it is saying my wind is coming from about 130 and I'm getting 13 kilometers per hour. My Kestrel is saying that I need to hold 1 mil already in this solution for us here today. And my final wind ended up, I might have drifted a little bit. Let's do that again. I'm going to select wind. It's going to highlight it black with the arrow. Now I'm getting 18 kilometers, 20 kilometers. The wind's pretty gusty today too. Once I'm happy with the wind, I'm going to hit the red button to lock that in. Now we've got our firing solution here. The Kestrel is suggesting the top number I'm seeing here is an E number, so that's elevation, okay? 2.3 mil worth of elevation. So I'm going to head over to my optic, my Gen 3 Razor on my 308, and I'm going to dial in, excuse me, I said 2.3, I meant to say 3.3. I'm going to dial in 3.3 mil, and we have our wind number here. Now, I'm a little bit more of an experienced shooter. I've shot a lot in these type of conditions already, and I know that our final number we got here on the Kestrel is not going to be the real number, so I'm going to add a little bit to that. But that's just because of the way that this valley flows, so keep that in mind. So let's see what we can do. I'm going to engage this target at 556 meters, 3.3 dialed in for elevation, okay? And again, now the wind's gusting a little bit. Let's grab another reading here quickly. Into the wind, hit that button to read. 17, 18 kilometers an hour, picking up even more, 20, and I'm going to lock in the wind. Okay, it's very important that you calibrate the compass so you get that directions. Sometimes I do find that these wander throughout the day, so keep an eye on that. If you sort of familiarize yourself, whoa, managed to save my binos and stuff. So it is windy today, as you guys can see. Okay, let's turn that sideways in the wind and pick up all the phones and the stuff that blew out there. Okay, so it's windy. Take my word for it. Right, targets are up there. We're going to engage these with our 308. Let's get some 1, 2, 3 rounds should be good. Actually, let's do 4 to kind of keep with the spirit of precision rifle. Just need to locate some loaded ammo. There we go. We're going to load up our mag. And I'm thinking here, based off past experience, we're probably going to need to hold, this is by the way a very small target, we're probably going to need to hold about 1.5 to give us a good idea here of what the wind is coming from. Obviously, we've pointed the Kestrel into the wind this way, so the wind is going to come from the right. Now you can either hold wind or dial wind. I'm going to dial in my wind, and I have actually dialed in 1.5. Let's go. Just want to get our framing right. Target's over there, so I'm going to do 1.5. Let's go. Now this is obviously not a prone shooting position, so we're practicing some precision rifle while we're at it. Okay, first round impact. Okay, I can see where I'm hitting. I'm going to shoot the target next to it, which is much smaller. Oh, off the right, too much wind, hold a little bit less. Center punched it. So guys, the Kestrel is a freaking cool tool, but you need to learn how to use it. And how do you learn how to use anything? It's by just using it over time. The more you start playing with it, the more you'll figure out what it is capable of. It is vastly more capable than most people use it for. It can do lead on targets. It can do crazy, crazy things. But again, it's a small part of the solution. We had to hold about 0.5 more 0.5 MRAD more. I just want to make sure nothing blows over again as the wind gusts. Then the Kestrel suggested, because of kind of how the terrain is influencing the wind based on where we're standing. There's sort of, let me show you guys, there's sort of a row of trees and stuff here. We've got all the mountains here. All of this mountain terrain is going to affect how the wind blows. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. With any ballistic calculator, it is garbage in, garbage out, as I said. So make sure the stuff you're putting in is lekker, then your information you're going to get out is going to be super. I hope this helps. Like, subscribe, all the wonderful stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.